I never thought I would find myself in a nightmare of my own making. Just a few days ago, I sat on the couch, wrapped in the warmth of my seemingly perfect life with Ethan. We had our routines, our inside jokes, and plans for the future. But that all changed when my phone buzzed one fateful afternoon. I glanced at the screen and saw a name I didn't recognize, followed by a series of messages that shattered my world. "Hey, can't wait to see you tonight. Just you and me, right?" My heart raced as I opened the messages. The words felt like daggers, each one piercing through the illusion I had built around my marriage. I read on, the messages painting a picture of betrayal I never wanted to see. "Ethan, how could you?" I whispered to myself, the weight of the discovery pressing down on my chest. I felt frozen, like a deer caught in headlights, unable to process the reality that the man I loved was hiding a dark secret. The perfect facade of our marriage crumbled, revealing a foundation built on lies. For what felt like an eternity, I sat there in silence, my mind racing. How could I have been so blind? I replayed moments in my head, every laugh, every kiss, every time I believed we were happy. Were they all just a mask? My stomach churned with a mix of hurt and anger. I could either let despair swallow me whole or rise from the ashes of this betrayal. "Why did I not see this coming?" I shouted into the empty room. The echo of my voice reminded me that I was alone in this moment. But deep down, a flicker of determination ignited within me. I had a choice to make. I could either be the victim or the warrior. Revenge? The thought surprised me, but it felt like a spark in the darkness. I grabbed my phone, my fingers trembling as I typed a message to Ethan. "We need to talk." The weight of those words felt heavy, but I knew I had to confront him. I would not let him dictate my story any longer. As I paced the room, the adrenaline surged through me. What if I could turn this around? What if I could take control? The idea of revenge was intoxicating. I could feel the anger bubbling beneath the surface, a simmering force ready to explode. "Clara, you can do this," I whispered, looking at my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me was not the broken shell I thought I had become. No, I was stronger than that. I could feel the fire within me growing, pushing away the pain. "Ethan is going to learn the truth," I said aloud, my voice steady. "He will regret ever crossing me." The thought filled me with a sense of power that I hadn't felt in ages. I was ready to rewrite my narrative, to be the one holding the pen. I grabbed my laptop and began to formulate a plan. I could create a different identity, one that would allow me to infiltrate Ethan's life without him knowing. I took a deep breath, the thrill of what was to come electrifying. As I worked, the feeling of vengeance transformed into something almost liberating. I was no longer the woman who had been wronged. I was becoming the architect of my own fate. I was ready to play the game, and Ethan had no idea what was coming. "Let's see how well you can lie, Ethan," I murmured, a smile creeping onto my face. The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain. I was done being a victim. It was time to embrace the storm and show him that Clara was not to be underestimated. I sat on my bed, the weight of the world pressing down on my chest. Ethan's betrayal felt like a storm inside me, one that had turned my life upside down. I couldn't shake the images of our life together, the laughter, the late-night talks, the way he used to hold my hand. But now, I saw those moments through a different lens. They were tainted with a deep dissatisfaction that I had chosen to ignore for too long. "Why didn't I see this coming?" I whispered to myself, feeling the tears sting my eyes again. I had thought our marriage was perfect, but now I knew it was built on lies. As the initial shock began to fade, a new feeling emerged. It was a flicker of determination, a spark that told me I could take control of my story. I remembered the messages I had read, the way they felt like daggers to my heart. Ethan's words to another woman echoed in my mind, and with each replay, my anger grew. I can't just let this go, I said aloud, surprising myself. I need to do something. That's when the idea came to me clear and bold. I would make a plan. I would show Ethan that I was not the weak woman he thought I was. I grabbed my laptop and started to create a fake social media profile. I used a picture of a friend, someone who looked nothing like me. I felt a rush of excitement mixed with a bit of fear. This is crazy, I thought, but I couldn't turn back now. As I began to interact with Ethan online, I felt a mix of adrenaline and purpose. Each message I sent brought me a sense of power I hadn't felt in days. "Hey there, what's up?" I typed, my fingers trembling slightly. I waited for his reply, my heart racing. The thrill of manipulation was intoxicating. I was no longer the broken woman I had been. I was becoming someone new, someone stronger. When he responded, I could hardly contain my excitement. "Not much, just hanging out." "You?" he wrote. I smiled, feeling a wicked sense of joy. "Just looking for someone fun to chat with." "You interested?" I replied, knowing that this was just the beginning of my plan. Days passed, and I kept up my charade. I learned about Ethan's likes, his interests, even his secrets, all while hiding behind this new identity. "You're really fun to talk to," he wrote one evening. I felt a shiver run down my spine. I was playing a dangerous game, and yet I was hooked. One night, I decided to take it a step further. I invited him to meet up, suggesting our favorite cafe. "I'd love to meet you in person. How about Friday?" I typed, my heart racing at the thought of seeing him again, even if he wouldn't recognize me. "Sure, I can't wait," he replied almost immediately. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. As the day approached, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. I chose my outfit carefully, wanting to feel confident when I walked into that cafe. "You can do this," I told myself in the mirror, adjusting my hair. "You're going to show him what he lost." The moment I stepped into the cafe, I scanned the room, my eyes locking onto Ethan. He looked just as I remembered, but there was something different about him, an ease that made my blood boil. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of my purpose. "Hey there," I said, approaching him with a smile. He looked up, his face lighting up with recognition. "Wow, you look great," he exclaimed, and I could feel the thrill of his compliment wash over me. "Thanks, I've been looking forward to this," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. As we talked, I watched his every move, every smile, and every laugh. The urge to reveal my true identity gnawed at me, but I found pleasure in holding the power in my hands. "Tell me about yourself," he said, leaning in closer. I paused, the weight of my plan hanging in the air. I was ready to play my part, to dig into his mind, and to take back what he had taken from me. The game had just begun, and I was determined to win. As the day of the meeting approached, my heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. I had spent countless hours preparing for this moment, crafting my online persona to perfection. I could hardly believe that I was about to confront Ethan, the man I thought I knew, under the guise of someone else. I dressed carefully, choosing a simple yet striking outfit that made me feel confident. I wanted to look my best, not just for him, but for me. When I arrived at our favorite cafe, nostalgia hit me like a wave. The familiar sounds of clinking cups and soft chatter surrounded me, but it felt different today. I found a small table in the corner, giving me a clear view of the entrance. My palms were sweaty, and I wiped them on my jeans. I took a deep breath. I could do this. Minutes felt like hours as I waited. Finally, I saw him walk in. Ethan looked the same as always, but there was something off about him. Maybe it was the way he scanned the room, his eyes darting nervously. I could see he was trying to find me, oblivious to the storm brewing behind my smile. "Hey!" he called out, his voice brightening as he spotted me. I waved, forcing myself to smile. "I'm glad you came." He took a seat across from me, his charm in full swing. "You look great. I'm really glad we're doing this." "Thanks, Ethan," I replied, my voice steady despite the chaos in my mind. I was looking forward to it. We began to chat, discussing trivial things like the weather and the latest cafe specials. But underneath the surface, I could feel the tension building. I watched Ethan closely, noticing how he laughed a little too loudly and leaned in a bit too much. Did he sense something was off? Did he feel the weight of the lies hanging in the air between us? "Have you been busy lately?" he asked, sipping his coffee. "I feel like we haven't talked in ages." I chuckled lightly. "Yeah, life has been a little crazy, hasn't it?" The truth was, I had been plotting every detail of this meeting. I wanted to see him squirm, to feel the rush of power that came with knowing something he didn't. As the conversation continued, I struggled with the urge to drop the facade. I wanted to scream, "It's me, Clara! I know everything!" But instead, I played my part, enjoying the thrill of the deception. It was exhilarating to see him so unaware, so relaxed. "Tell me about your latest project," I prompted, leaning forward with genuine curiosity. I wanted to hear his voice, to catch any hint of guilt or hesitation. Ethan launched into a story about work, his enthusiasm shining through. But as he spoke, I could see the cracks forming in his smile. The more he talked, the more I felt the weight of his deceit. I was on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. "Sometimes I wonder if we really know the people we're close to," I said casually, watching for his reaction. "What do you think?" His expression shifted slightly, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. "That's a deep question. I think we all have our secrets. It's part of being human, right?" I couldn't help but laugh a little, the irony of his words cutting deep. "True, but some secrets can hurt others. Don't you agree?" Ethan shifted in his seat, a nervous energy radiating from him. "Of course, but..." Before he could finish, I felt a surge of courage. "Ethan, do you believe in second chances?" His eyes widened, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. "I suppose it depends on the situation." "Why do you ask?" With my heart pounding, I leaned back, feeling the power of the moment. "Because sometimes the truth comes out when you least expect it." The silence that followed was electric. I could see the realization dawning on his face, the pieces slowly falling into place. In that moment, I reveled in the control I had, knowing that soon he would have to face the consequences of his actions. As I watched him squirm, the thrill of our twisted game filled me with a sense of exhilaration. I was no longer the broken woman he had betrayed. I was in control, and I was ready for what came next. The evening of the dinner arrived, and I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety bubbling inside me. I had spent days planning this moment, creating the perfect atmosphere for the ultimate confrontation with Ethan. The table was adorned with soft candles and a bouquet of fresh flowers, the dim lighting casting a warm glow around us. It was meant to feel romantic, but I knew that underneath the surface it would be anything but. As I waited for him to arrive, I took a deep breath, reminding myself of why I was doing this. I wanted him to feel the weight of his betrayal, to understand the pain he had caused. This was my moment to reclaim my power. When I heard the doorbell ring, my heart raced. I walked to the door, opened it, and there he was, Ethan, looking handsome as always. "Wow, Clara, this looks amazing," he said, stepping inside. His eyes scanned the room, and I could see a flicker of confusion on his face. He was used to our dinner dates being filled with laughter and love, not this cloak of tension. "Thank you, Ethan. I wanted to do something special," I replied, forcing a smile as I led him to the dining table. We sat down, and I poured us both a glass of wine. As I took a sip, I felt the warmth spread through me, giving me a little more courage. The small talk began, the usual questions about work and life, but I could sense that something was off. He was too relaxed, unaware of the storm approaching. "So, how's work been treating you?" he asked, leaning back in his chair, completely oblivious. "It's been good," I said, my voice steady. "I've been busy with a few projects, but I'm managing." I paused, letting the silence linger. "I've also been thinking a lot about us." Ethan raised an eyebrow, a hint of concern flashing across his face. "Us? What do you mean?" I smiled softly, knowing that the moment was almost upon us. "I mean, our relationship, the good times and the bad." I leaned forward, locking my gaze onto his. "And how it's been built on something else." His brow furrowed, confusion knitting his features together. "What are you talking about, Clara?" I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone, the screen lighting up with the messages that had shattered my world. "I think it's time we had an honest conversation about what you've been doing behind my back." Ethan's smile faded, replaced by a look of dread as I scrolled through the messages, the words leaping off the screen into the charged atmosphere between us. "What is this?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. I held up the phone, showing him the conversations I had carefully crafted with my fake persona. "This, Ethan, is a glimpse into your secret life, the life you chose over the one we built together." His face paled as he read the messages, shock and horror washing over him. "Clara, I can explain." "No," I interrupted, my voice firm. "You don't get to explain. You've betrayed me, and now you see the consequences." I took a deep breath, preparing for the moment I had long envisioned. "This is me, Clara, and I'm not the woman you thought you could manipulate anymore." Ethan's expression shifted from confusion to realization. "You did all this to get back at me?" "It's not just about revenge," I replied, my heart racing. "It's about taking back my power, Ethan. You lost my trust and shattered my heart, but you will not take my strength away from me." His eyes were wide, and I could see the regret starting to settle in. "I'm so sorry, Clara. I never meant to hurt you." "Sorry doesn't change what you did," I said, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction mixed with sadness. In that moment, I realized that while seeing his reaction felt good, it was my own reclaiming of power that mattered most. I had done this for me, not just for revenge. I was taking control of my story, and that was the real victory. After the confrontation, I felt a rush of emotions. Triumph washed over me, but it was quickly followed by a strange emptiness. I had spent so much time plotting my revenge, and now that it was done, I wasn't sure how to feel. I sat on my couch, staring blankly at the wall, replaying the moments of the dinner in my mind. Ethan's face, the shock in his eyes. It was all so vivid. But as the adrenaline faded, reality set in. "Did I really need to go this far?" I whispered to myself. The taste of victory felt bitter, and I realized that I was still left with a lot of pain. Sure, I had confronted him, but what did that really change? I took a deep breath and tried to focus. I knew I needed to rebuild my life. I pulled out my phone and began scrolling through my contacts. It was time to reach out to my friends, the ones I had neglected while lost in my marriage. The thought of reconnecting both excited and scared me. I sent a message to my best friend, Sarah. "Hey, it's been a while. Want to grab coffee tomorrow?" "Of course," she replied almost instantly. "I've missed you. Let's meet at our favorite cafe." I smiled at her enthusiasm. It felt good to know that I still had people who cared about me. I needed that connection more than ever. The next day, as I walked into the cafe, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. Sarah was already there, waving at me with a big smile. "Clara, I was worried I would have to drink all this coffee alone," she teased. "Not a chance," I replied, feeling lighter just being in her presence. We sat down, and I could feel the warmth of our friendship wrapping around me. As we talked, I began to open up about the past few weeks. I confronted Ethan, I said, hesitating slightly. Her eyes widened. Really? How did it go? I took a deep breath. It was intense. I created a fake identity online and met him. I wanted him to feel the pain he caused me. Wow, that's bold. But how do you feel now? She asked gently. I thought I would feel satisfied, but instead, I just feel empty. I guess I thought revenge would fix everything, but it hasn't. My voice trembled slightly as I spoke. Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. Clara, you're not defined by what he did to you. You're so much stronger than that. Her words struck a chord in me. I realized I had to start focusing on myself. I needed to rediscover who I was beyond being Ethan's wife. Our conversation flowed naturally, and I felt a sense of freedom as I shared my thoughts and fears. I want to start doing things for myself, I said, excitement bubbling in my chest. Maybe take a painting class or join a book club. That sounds amazing. You should definitely do that, Sarah encouraged. You deserve to explore what makes you happy. As we continued to talk, I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. I was ready to embrace this new chapter in my life. I didn't want to be the woman defined by betrayal anymore. No, I wanted to be Clara, the woman who could reclaim her joy and independence. Over the next few weeks, I made an effort to reconnect with friends and explore new interests. I signed up for a painting class and rediscovered my love for art. I felt the brush glide across the canvas, and for the first time in a long while, I smiled genuinely. During one of the classes, I met a few new people, and we started to bond. We shared laughter and stories, and I felt like I was coming alive again. This is so much fun, I said to one of my classmates, Mia, as we mixed colors for our projects. I know, right? It's nice to escape reality for a bit, she replied, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Every day brought new opportunities to reclaim my life. I found joy in small things, coffee with friends, painting, and even quiet moments with myself. I was slowly learning that my identity was not tied to my past, but to the choices I made for my future. As I looked in the mirror one morning, I realized I was smiling at the reflection staring back at me. It was a different Clara, one who was learning to love herself again. I was on a journey of healing, and though I had experienced betrayal, I was beginning to understand that my empowerment came from within. I was ready to move forward, one step at a time. As I stood in front of the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. Gone was the fragile figure who had been shattered by betrayal. Instead, I saw someone strong, someone ready to embrace a new beginning. The journey of self-discovery was like peeling away layers of an onion, each layer revealing a different part of me. I took a deep breath, feeling the excitement bubble up inside. You ready for today? My friend Mia asked as she walked into my room. Her bright smile was infectious, and I felt a rush of gratitude for her support. More than ready, I replied, brushing my hair back. I feel like I'm finally becoming who I was meant to be. Mia clapped her hands together. That's the spirit. Let's go celebrate your journey. As we arrived at the cafe where we were meeting our friends, I felt a mix of nerves and exhilaration. This gathering was not just a celebration, it was a moment to share my story. I had come so far from the pain and betrayal, and I was ready to open up about my experience. When I walked into the cafe, the familiar scent of coffee and pastries welcomed me. My friends were already gathered at a corner table, and their faces lit up when they saw me. Clara, over here, shouted Lucy, waving her arms excitedly. Hey, everyone, I said, my heart swelling with warmth as I hugged each one of them. As we settled down, I looked around the table. There was laughter, there was joy, and most importantly, there was a sense of connection that I had craved for so long. Clara, we're so proud of you, Mark said, his voice sincere. You've been through a lot, and you're shining brighter than ever. Thank you, Mark. It means so much to me, I said, smiling. I want to share something important with all of you today. With everyone's attention focused on me, I took a deep breath. I want to talk about what happened with Ethan. It was tough, but I've realized I can't let that define who I am anymore. I watched as my friends nodded, their expressions encouraging. I found out about his betrayal through some messages. It shattered my world. But instead of staying a victim, I chose to take control. I created this fake social media profile to confront him, and it felt empowering to reclaim my narrative. As I shared my story, I noticed the way their eyes widened in surprise and empathy. I continued. When I finally confronted him, it was a mix of emotions. I felt anger, but I also felt this strength I didn't know I had. "Wow, Clara," Mia said, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You turned a painful experience into something powerful. That takes real courage." "It wasn't just about revenge for me," I explained, my voice steady. "It was about finding my voice again. I realized that true empowerment comes from within, not from hurting others." The conversation flowed naturally after that. My friends shared their own stories of challenges and growth, and we laughed together, reminding each other that we were never alone in our struggles. As the night wore on, I found myself reflecting on how far I had come. I had shed the victim mentality like a snake sheds its skin. I was no longer defined by Ethan's actions. I was Clara, a woman who embraced her strength and resilience. "Let's raise a glass," I said, standing up and holding my drink high. "To new beginnings, to friendship, and to the freedom we find within ourselves." "To new beginnings," my friends echoed, their voices merging in a beautiful chorus. As we clinked our glasses together, I felt a wave of happiness wash over me. I had turned a bitter experience into a reason to celebrate. The taste of revenge may have been bittersweet, but the flavor of healing and strength was far more delicious. I knew that this was just the beginning. With every step I took, I was moving forward on my own terms, ready to embrace whatever came next. Share this story if you believe that empowerment and self-discovery can triumph over life's toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a moment when you found your strength in adversity, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.